Hey, 297 capstone class, Eric Magidson here. So, of course, I'm your instructor. Today would have been a day that we normally go on a field trip. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that field trip virtually down to Westside Church and take a look at their production network. Let's get started. All right, everybody, we're here. We're at Westside Church, and we're going to go in. All right, students, so let's take a look at where the rubber hits the road. And what you're looking at here is a compilation of two physical full server racks that have been combined into one. Now, the primary use here is a NAS device, two main servers that act as virtual servers for the majority of the network, and then finally a backup server that is used here. So that's what we're looking at. Down here is the voice over IP telephone system. We have two NAS devices backing up all of the Mac computers that are used in the place. And then finally, the servers down at the bottom. And those are just backup servers. They're not really being used right now. Eventually, they'll just go away. Now, let's take a look at what this looks like or how it used to look. So what we're going to see here is we're going to see two racks that at one point were filled with physical servers, each doing certain job functions that again have been converted and virtualized. So a lot less power being used, a lot more efficiency within using the NAS for the primary backup on site. Then they have cloud backup as well. All right, now let's get down to what we're really here to look at, and that is the network. So what we're looking at here is the business end, or the back of that primary server rack. And the first thing I want you to notice is how well the cables are managed. First of all, cables are color-coded. We'll look at that in just a minute. But everything is managed really well. Cables are out of the way. Things are easy to be seen. Now, as we zoom in, what you're going to notice here is the Cisco MX100 firewall. This has two primary ISP, or a primary and secondary ISP. Bend cable, which I'll show you their input, is an ISP, and that's coming in through a fiber optic connection. And then into Bentel, which is their secondary ISP. And then finally, this is the primary switch that has all of the inputs. And if you'll notice on the right-hand side, it has fiber optic inputs into other switches throughout the campus because of the distance between switches. So what we're looking at here is the primary server closet for all of the upstairs offices at Westside Church. So first of all, so that you know, the primary uplink from the server switch that we just looked at previously to this switch is two redundant Ethernet cables, okay? Redundant just so that there's a pass-through, and if one of the cables or NICs was to fail, we don't lose connectivity to this whole switch. Now, as I zoom in, what you're gonna see is that there is a primary NAS storage for the audiovisual folks. There is, again, a large switch here. That again is the switch for all of the upstairs offices, so connected Ethernet to all of the upstairs offices. Now the next thing I want to show you is just a comparison of what this looked like. We'll call it before and then after, so that you can see the work we've done in cable management, which is hugely important when you're coming back to troubleshoot things within a network. So as we head down to the downstairs office closet, what I want to point out is those APs that you see there are all over the building, and I'll show you a topographical map at the end. But let's go into the downstairs busiest switch, which of course this is where the majority of offices are. So what you see here is an image of another 48 port switch. This one connected with fiber optic cables, which I'll show you here. So this is the patch panel for the fiber optic coming in, and then a fiber optic coming out into the switch. So this run was so long that Ethernet wasn't going to work from the server room down to this main switch, and we needed reliability, connectivity, and speed. Also, the next thing I want to point out is notice that there's a sticker on all of these that says empty ports are disabled for security purposes. So consequently, if somebody was to come in and say connect to port 9 that you see here on the patch panel and just connect right into the switch, they're not going to get into the network. So this is a layer of physical security that I want you to be aware of, and I want you to program your networks to have. As usual, before we leave this closet, let's take a look at the before and after. So left side is after, right side is before, and you can see how easy it would be to manage this location given the current cabling. So another place that we needed to support the network, and primarily the audiovisual department, was here within the chapel. So what you see here as I zoom in is a little 8-port switch. It happens to be an MS120-8FP switch. Now if you notice, it's connected via Ethernet because the run is close enough to the server room that we could do that. Okay. Again, you'll notice that all ports are disabled. We have great patch management, although you can't see it real well. This is what it looks like today. So let's go ahead and head into the primary gathering area for the church. So as we look up here, what I want to point out is that those blue cables, that's going to be IT, and the black cables are audiovisual. So I'm hoping they're going to come back. They're going to do a little bit more cable management. So first thing I want to point out is the access point that serves this entire gathering area. A lot of people gather here, hundreds of potential wireless connections. And then right here are the video cameras for security in this location. So let's go back in and take a look more detailed at what we find in this server rack. I'm going to zoom in so that we can see the MS120 24P, so only a 24-port switch here, but you'll notice it again is connected with fiber optic, the run again being too long, and it manages all of the devices within this area. So that would be the APs, the security cameras, any computer connections that are needed at the Welcome Center, everything that is here. Now, before we leave this area, let me just point out that again, we've provided a battery backup to keep this switch running in case there's any temporary power outages. So real quick, let me point out a quick security camera and then AP, and then we're gonna head towards what we call the fire closet. This is the fire suppression closet. And as you can see, a lot of networking stuff here. Here is a Cisco switch. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But let me point out that this is where Bentel, our secondary ISP, comes in from. So now let's take a look at the switch. Here we have another Meraki MS128 24-port switch. Probably could have done with an 8-port here, but we have some expansion projects to do here that was going to overload this switch. So we thought about what we needed for the future. As we exit the fire suppression closet, heading towards the youth hallway, you'll notice here is one of our newest APs, an MR42 and a camera. Notice how the wiring is done to look professional. Now we'll go ahead and head into the other closet. Now, this did not bode well for me. Don't know who put this stuff into the closet, but we're gonna go ahead and take it out before we take the picture. Now, as we can see here, again, another Meraki MS120 24-piece switch, along with a fiber optic connection from, again, the server room into this location so that we have that high-speed, reliable connection. And again, couldn't make that connection via Ethernet because of the distance. So it wouldn't be a visit to a improved closet if we didn't show you what it looks like. So here is the before and the after. As you can see, with this cleaned up the way it is, it's going to be easy to manage. I can't encourage you enough to take the time to do cable management correctly. It's going to save you a ton of time when you need to troubleshoot things in the future. So let's not forget the importance of physical security, locking doors that have equipment in them. Each time we leave, we're going to leave the youth hallway here. We're going to head up to what we call the AV closet. This is where Ben Broadband comes in. I'm going to show you this. We're going to take time. Then I'm going to show you the amazing equipment in the AV room. As previously indicated, Ben Broadband is our primary ISP, and this is their modem coming in. It's fiber optic. It's coming in with that black cable into the building. And then from there, it goes up to the server room. But let's take a look at this equipment here. By now, you should get it. Cable management is really important. Notice before I zoom in, the blue cables and how they're all patched up, they're all put together, they're easy to find and easy to manage. So let's take a look at the switch here. What we're going to look at is a 48 port. It's an MS120 48 port switch. A lot of different things going on here. As we leave the AV closet, let's go visit our most important customer, and that's the audiovisual department. Now, these are the folks that create the online services that are being used right now during the coronavirus. They enhance the existing service. They broadcast. It's great. Here is the thing. This is the switch that we manage here, and hopefully I'm going to get rid of that little TP-Link switch next. Now, for you computer nerds, this is where the magic happens. All of the audio visual, running the cameras, etc. Again, we need to make sure that they have reliable internet, reliable network, reliable connectivity, and security. Here is just an awesome video wall. And then finally, these are windows that when the main area is on, you can see into the service. As I zoom in slowly, pretty important to point out that these audio cables, these video cables are thicker, they're tougher to manage. I think that this is a great job in doing cable managing. As you'll notice, my cables are down below here. What we're looking at here is an MS120 24-port switch, and as you can see, I need a few more ports so I can get rid of this TP-Link. So that does conclude the tour of all of the networking equipment. Now, normally, students, what we do is we come in here. I will broadcast the Meraki dashboard up here on the big screen. We'll go through all the equipment and talk about it, but we're going to do that in the next video. So I'm going to sit down in my favorite chair and relax after a hard day's work. All right, everybody, that ends the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, I'm chilling out in the massage chair. Look forward to having y'all in class the rest of the term. Have a great term and take care.